Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ashley and today I wanted to sit down and just do kind of a very casual, chatty, get ready with me sort of situation. Fill you in on life events and just sort of touch base and check in. So I am barefaced. So let's go ahead and get the headband to try to manage the insane bang situation, which by the way, thank you so much to everybody who has been so sweet about the bang situation. I appreciate that more than I can say. So let's go ahead and start with just a couple of things. I definitely want to get a little bit of balm on my lips. I'm just going to be using Project Pan items. So this is my It Cosmetics Je ne sais quoi. Not doing anything too in-depth or crazy or honestly that interesting when it comes to my makeup. This is just going to be what I have been wearing when I have been putting on makeup during this quarantine, but not necessarily filming. So I am trying to get back in the habit of using my sunscreen, so I'll go ahead and pop that on my face. So if you have seen any of my other recent videos, then you will know that I did have the twins. So I'm very excited to say that they are home and everybody is doing well. But I know that a lot of you have some questions, and so I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about them and that experience and kind of everything surrounding that. I will say my body is not loving the fact that I'm no longer pregnant and all my hormones are changing again. So I am breaking out like crazy and I'm not a fan. Not a fan. Okay, so now that we have sunscreen on, we're going to go ahead and prime my lids and just throw on a very, very simple eye look. Nothing too in-depth or complicated or anything like that. I've been really a fan of sort of one shadow looks just to get some usage out of my makeup, but also just to help give my skin a bit of a better appearance. And I think that's what, for me at least, it really kind of comes down to. I don't need to be wearing makeup. I absolutely recognize that. But I enjoy wearing makeup, and it's one of those things that helps me to feel a little bit more like me, especially right now when things are just so crazy. Like many of you out there, we are self-quarantining. We've actually been self-quarantining for over a month now, which, is exhausting in a way, because it's one thing to just, be at home, and it's another thing to be required to be at home. I think it's just like a mental thing. I don't know, but my husband's work, because he's working from home, sent us, or everybody really, a couple of pizzas today, and I'll be honest, that is the first time we have had anything that one of us has not cooked since we started this whole quarantine. And it was amazing. Like, my stomach's a little bit unsettled because both my husband and I just like smashed one of those pizzas because it was genuinely a treat. And it got me to kind of thinking, we haven't really been in a position here recently where that's been the case. And I know that not everybody has that luxury, and I'm not making light of it. I'm really just taking that as an opportunity to kind of evaluate our life and kind of really decide what is truly important. I mean, it used to be, God, when we were in college, I don't know about you guys out there, but I know I was incredibly broke. I know my husband was pretty broke too. Like, we were putting ourselves through college and didn't really have a lot of extra funds. And so, at least for me, when I did get to, you know, order in or something like, or go out to eat or something like that, like, it was like a thing. And flash forward, you know, 20 years, because I graduated in the 90s. And it's not quite the case anymore. You know, we are in a different place in our lives where if we want to order in or something like that, I mean, not every day, but, you know, it's not kind of the big deal that it was in college, I guess. And it's been kind of nice having it be a big deal again. And I would like to kind of maintain that once life goes either back to normal or whatever normal looks like after we're on the other side of this. So I know that has no bearing whatsoever on what I said we were going to talk about, so I just sort of went off on a tangent. But the twins. So, as I said, I did have them. They are just over 2 weeks old at this point, which is so exciting. So, many of you asked, because I did post a picture on Instagram of me holding one of them. So I did get a few questions there. One of which is, did I have boys, girls, one of each? You know, what kind of situation did that look like? Because I had not previously talked about things like gender or anything like that. So I did have 2 girls, which is very exciting, because if you don't know, I also have another child who is a boy. So now we have boys and girls in our house. I'm just going to top that with a little bit of my Stila glitter in Smoky Storm. So that is exciting. We now have a very full house. If you saw my video about being nervous about the birthing process and things like that, because this is just a very different situation than it was when I was pregnant with my son. So many of you asked, did my husband get to be there? And unfortunately, no. It kind of played out the way that we expected it. I woke up very early one morning realizing that my water had broken. I was able to get things squared away with work before going into the hospital, where they did in fact confirm that yes, my water did break. But I wasn't in like full-on active labor, which was kind of for me weird, because when I went into labor with my son, I don't remember my water breaking. It either happened when I didn't really realize it, or it happened after I was already at the hospital and had had my, why can't I think of that word all of a sudden? When I couldn't feel anything anymore. I don't know, my brain's not working properly. And I'm not really loving the way that that glitter turned out, but we're just gonna roll with it. So anyway, epidural, that's what I was trying to think of. So it was interesting having it in that, I don't know, backwards sort of order, and I only say backwards because it's backwards from what I had experienced previously. So went in, they confirmed that yes, I was pregnant, so they went ahead and admitted me to the hospital, and that was really kind of hard because, like I said, we had, even though we knew that my husband wasn't going to be able to be there because we needed, you know, someone to watch our firstborn, and my mother was not able to come, and with everybody self-quarantining and everything, it just wasn't going to happen. But there was still, I think, a part of me that was kind of hoping that something would change. So it was kind of a sad moment when, you know, getting, because he drove to the hospital, and you know, so getting out of the car and leaving him and my son there in the car. Do I have what I need? as far as brushes go. I probably don't because I am just never good at life. Okay, hold on just a second. Okay, back. So yeah, it was definitely a sad moment when I was getting out of the car, and you know, my son had no idea what was going on. He started crying because, you know, mommy got out of the car, so he wanted to get out of the car too. You know, couldn't. So it was kind of a sad moment, but got checked into the hospital. They started me on a crud ton of Pitocin because, like I said, I was not actively laboring. And the doctor that was on shift was very comfortable delivering twins, especially because one of them was breech. I don't know if I mentioned this before. I don't know how much I talked about my pregnancy just because it's a makeup channel and some people don't care, and unfortunately for some people it's hard to talk about because everybody has their own sort of fertility journey, and for some people it's a very difficult journey. I know it was for me, and I won't go, you know, too far into that, but we spent a lot of years not knowing if I could even get pregnant, and so I feel incredibly fortunate that not only was I able to get pregnant, but I was able to get pregnant twice, and everybody is happy and healthy, and it went the best that it possibly could have. But I know not for everybody is that the case. So I don't remember how much I really talked about my pregnancy and everything that was going on, but they were in kind of like a yin-yang position, meaning that one of the girls was head down, like you would want for a vaginal delivery, but the other one was head up, so she was breech. So the doctor that was on shift was very, very comfortable with that delivery scenario, and I wanted, if possible, to deliver vaginally. But, you know, if we had to kind of pivot, then we could. But if it were up to me, that was kind of my hope. And of course, I don't have, I swear, I try to prepare before I sit down. So we're going to use a different powder brush so I don't have to get up again. So yeah, but he was only going to be on shift until 7 p.m. Now, I was admitted to the hospital at like 7:45 in the morning. Didn't think that that would be a big deal. Oh, it was. And so every time he came into my room, he's like, okay, we got to speed this up. And I'm like, okay, well, tell me how. Because I don't really have any control here. So he ended up staying late because when it got to be 7 o'clock, I was finally in active labor. But it took all day, and they had me on the highest dosage of Pitocin and everything like that. These girls were just a little bit stubborn, but he was able to deliver them both. They both came very, very successfully. We didn't have any complications in the delivery, which is wonderful because, you know, that's always a scary thought, especially since, you know, with twins, and certainly in the way that they were presenting, I had to give birth in the operating room, which is a little unnerving, to be quite honest with you. So I was very, very fortunate that I was under such great care. Like, all of the doctors, all of the nurses, everybody that was there and that I worked with, they all took such amazing care of me, which I knew that that would be the case. I mean, it's the same hospital that I delivered my son at, and we had a really, really positive experience there as well. You know, so I knew that it was going to be fine. But, you know, it's just, I don't like not being in control. That's what it really comes down to. But, so they were both born at around 7:30 in the evening, so not too terribly late, but they were premature, so I did end up having them about 5 weeks early, so they were small. And unfortunately, that also meant that they had to spend some time in the NICU. They were having trouble regulating their blood sugar levels, and so that is something that also can tie into maintaining body temperature and things like that. So unfortunately, they did have to spend some time in the NICU, which was very scary for me, again, especially because I was there by myself. It was just a bit of a hard situation, but again, I was under such wonderful care from everybody that was there. So they did spend some time in the NICU, but they rebounded, and they were very responsive to the treatments that they were getting. So they didn't have to spend a ton of time in the NICU, but we did end up staying in the hospital later, longer than what is usual because of that, and also because of, you know, everything that's going on with the pandemic. The doctors were not ready to release the girls the way that they would have normally under different circumstances. So that was comforting, but also, you know, not how you want it to go, I guess. But yeah, so I've gotten a lot of questions as to whether or not they are identical, and the answer to that is no. They actually look completely different from one another. Like, it to me is amazing how different they look from one another. So one of the girls has a full head of just fluffy, dark hair, and the other one has very, very short blonde hair. So they're different sizes. They are different, like, body types, it seems like. I mean, they are vastly different from one another, and I think it's kind of neat for a few different reasons. First of all, it's just, I find that kind of stuff, genetics and things like that, just really, really fascinating. But also, I'm not gonna lie, from a selfish perspective, I was really kind of scared that I was gonna get them confused. So having them not be identical is I don't want to say a relief, because that doesn't sound right, but I'm not going to confuse them. But they are both just very sweet-natured. One of them is definitely more temperamental than the other one, that is for sure. One of them is super, super clingy, and the other is is much more independent. And one of them refuses to sleep in her bassinet at night, which means that in order for anybody to get any sleep, she has been sleeping in the bed with me a little bit more than what I would have preferred, just because I don't really want to get into the habit of co-sleeping. Not because there's necessarily anything wrong with co-sleeping, but just because, you know, it can be, I've read, harder to make the transition into their own beds when they're not accustomed to that. But since there's two of them, it's easier to give in rather than have her screaming and waking up her sister and then trying to get them both back to sleep. And there's a lot that goes into twins. So I have been giving in a lot. And I will say, hold on, looking for a highlight. I swear, I used to be far more organized than this. There it is. It is nice snuggling with babies again. I mean, I still snuggle with my son a lot. He is a mama's boy through and through, and he is very cuddly and very sweet. But there's something about newborn babies and cuddling with them that is just absolutely intoxicating. So that has been really, really nice. Also, because my husband has been home because of this whole pandemic and everything, he has gotten to spend more time with the girls than he really got to spend when our son was that age. And so I think that's been really good as well. Gives me some help because twins are a lot. Gives me a little bit of help, but also, you know, helps to strengthen his relationship with them. And, you know, certainly he's been working a lot more with our son since he's been at home, and everything. So it's really weird because with this pandemic, there are a lot of things that are really hard and really just scary and awful and things like that. And yet at the same time, there is a strange beauty to everything in a way, because, you know, we're spending so much more time together than we did before this. And so I don't know, it's weird. I don't know if I'm really kind of articulating that well, but I don't know, it's an odd situation. But yeah, so I think he has really enjoyed the time that he's getting that, you know, he didn't get before. And I know for me at least, with the job that I have, you know, all the travel and everything that went on, especially when our son was very, very young, I feel like I missed out on a lot of things, and I feel so grateful that I will not have to make those same choices again with the girls, or at least not so far as we can tell at the moment. So I am very, very grateful for a lot of things, even though they come at a very high cost, I guess is the best way to put it. All right, I'm going to apply a little bit of setting spray. And we're going to dry that down real quickly. So yeah, that's been what has been going on in my household. I am going to go ahead and stop talking for a minute, put on some mascara. I'll probably speed through this little segment here just because nobody wants to see anyone putting on mascara, let's be honest. Alright, mascara is on. I'm not really going to do much with my lips, but I do want to put just a little bit of color on them just because I don't have terribly pigmented lips. I am going to take my hair down first though, because my bangs don't like being up like that, and they take some time to kind of relax and not look even more crazy than they do, let's be real. So I am going to put on just a tiny bit of my Marc Jacobs liquid lipstick. Sheer it out on my lips just to give them, like I said, a tiny bit of color. Excellent. So I'm going to also put on a little bit of lip gloss as well. There we go. That is really all I've been doing as far as makeup goes. Like I said, I know I didn't really talk about it, but I haven't really been wearing foundation. I've just been taking my ColourPop concealer I'm blending that out all over my face with a little bit of my liquid illuminator from Becca, which I've been liking those results. So I've been thankfully getting a lot more usage out of this guy here, which hopefully will mean that we'll see progress in my products in my Partners in Cream project pan, because that one's getting a little stagnant. But yeah, so I'm not sure how my upload schedule is going to look in the coming months, just because, you know, things are kind of crazy. The girls are great about sleeping all day long. Like, everything crazy is going on downstairs in the living room. The television's on. My son is, you know, fixing the floor. He's got pretend tools, and he'll just sit and hammer right on the ground, right next to where they're sleeping. I mean, they will sleep through just about anything except through the night. They sleep all day, and then they want to be up and just crazy all night, which is normal for newborns. Their circadian rhythm is not established yet, so that's totally normal, but not amazing for me, I won't lie. But yeah, so I'm going to try to keep up with some sort of upload schedule. I'm just not sure what that's going to look like. Also, spoiler alert for later on in the month, I did make a few purchases, so I'm sure that I will make some videos talking about some of those products, maybe using them, things like that. But overall, I'm just not sure what my time is going to look like and things like that. So I really hope that you will bear with me while, you know, the new normal gets established. But I really appreciate y'all spending some time with me today. I know that this was crazy rambly because I put together cohesive thoughts, but for some reason when I sit down to film, all of that goes right out the window and it just turns into a ramble fest. So I definitely appreciate if you stuck around for as long as you did. I hope that you are having an amazing day, and I will see you next time. Bye.